a little bit more.
Okay. Welcome to Love and Relo, everybody. This is Ben Cross. I am with the wonderful Janet Webster Jones. How are you doing today, Miss Jones?
I'm doing just fine. Welcome to Source Booksellers.
Thank you so much, and I hope you can hear us. We got a little different microphone configuration today, but we're broadcasting live. I think this might be the first time we. I need like a little nose release.
Yeah, nose relief, right.
I'm trying to talk. I talk so much I don't even think about my breathing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube right now, go ahead and leave us a like. Give Miss Jones a round of applause on there with the applause button, okay? Hit her with a little heart, a little love is great as well. Janet Turner, if you are backstage, I see Janet there. Janet Turner, if you would go ahead and play the comments too as they kind of come in, that would be wonderful. We'll try to keep on top of those. Again, we're doing this live on location. So that adds another little wrinkle. I'm going to go ahead and see what's going on with my LinkedIn friends here and see if everybody's getting in here. And Ms. Janet Webster Jones, would you just talk a little bit about Source Booksellers?
Surely. Source Booksellers is 31 and a half years old as we speak. So we began selling books in the metropolitan Detroit area in 1989, and we have proceeded through really 3 and now a 4th incarnation, I like to call it, of this business. Originally, we were going to where people had events, selling books across the table with other vendors at that time. Not pop-up, because we were not established there yet, but we would go to where people had bazaars and fairs and other kinds of gatherings like that and sell our books across the table. And then after I retired from Detroit Public Schools, I joined 3 other women-owned businesses that shared a collective space right across the street from where we are now in the Spiral Collective. So I was the bookseller. We had an art gallery, a gift gallery, and for just a short period of time, a hair salon for natural hair. That one moved out pretty soon because she really needed a lot more space than it offered. But I was there for 10 and a half years, and it was our first attempt at a brick and mortar type environment. And I've always liked company. So in this way, I was in the company of 2 other businesses. So we shared the expenses, we shared customers, we shared advertising, and we shared just our being there on the corner of Cass and Willis. It's really right down the street from Avalon Bakery, where it started.
Okay.
So we're in real good company around here, and the Flow Boutique. So in 2013, we moved across the street to the location where we are now, because this building was built, the Auburn building, and the developers wanted to have merchants that had experience. So I was one of those. I said, okay, I'll go over there.
Yeah.
And I do like experiencing new and different things and changes, not all at one time, but over about a 7 or 10 year period. That's when I get my changey thing going on.
This is so neat to be here, and I thank you so much for having me. And your daughter Allison's over there too as well. And this has obviously been a trying time that we've been through here in the last 4 or 5 months. Can you tell us just a little bit about? I want to hear a little bit about the way that your bookstore. You talk about change and things like that. I want to hear a little bit about the way that you've adapted. Really quick, we got a few people checking in here, and it looks like we have a little bit of a delay going on here on the. Yep, we got Michelle Velasquez checking in. Says hi, Ben and Janet. We've got Lisa Thomas checking in. Hi, Ben and Janet. A lot of hi, Ben and Janet's going on.
That's good. Hi back.
Mark Moose from Switzerland. All good from Switzerland. MW Relo looking good. Yeah, so it does look like we might have a little bit of a lag. I hope the audio is okay. Let us know out there, okay? But tell us a little bit about, you have a neighborhood bookstore. It's been around for 31 and a half years. And how have you adapted in this past, 6 months?
Well, we are a nimble business, and we have changed over these 3 different incarnations that I spoke of. This 4th incarnation, which I'm calling it now, is online sales. So immediately when the stay-at-home order came down and the door shuttered, we quickly pivoted to online sales. We had not done that before by choice, because we wanted to create community, we wanted to create a place where people could gather, we wanted to create a well-curated inventory for people to look at and to enjoy and to be able to choose from. And as I said, we wanted to embed ourselves in the community. So when the order came down, we had to do something different. So our capacity for nimbleness was taken up. And so fortunately, we were able to get on the platform through our point of sale system. And then my daughter Allison sort of took over that. She's very nimble with the computer. So she really worked hard to bring this online site up for people to use, and it's been wonderful. We've been so very grateful to people who have chosen to buy from us online. In fact, it's opened and expanded our reach, because we've had people from really different parts of the world and a lot of parts of the United States and Canada contact us through our online sales to buy books.
I would love, Janet Turner, if you wouldn't mind, just can we put up the contact information for Miss Janet Webster Jones and her daughter Allison Turner's bookstore there for Source Booksellers? So you can see right now, scrolling along the bottom, how to get a hold of Source Booksellers. You got the email, you got the phone number, you got the website. You know, I'd love to see if we couldn't get somebody from maybe Europe, Asia, you know, maybe see how many continents we could get to call you up.
Right.
So, so let's make a little challenge here. Let's see how many continents we can get to call Miss Janet Webster Jones up. And we're actually rolling out the book, this month's book club book for Love and Relo is actually going to be, it's going to be White Fragility. Okay, it's called White Fragility. Why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism, and ain't that the truth? And so we got the book right here. And what happened, I'm just going to give a quick little shout out to Michelle Velasquez, who's watching right now. Brian Smith says, hey, Ben and Janet, definitely a lag, buffering on my end, yeah. But basically, I'm gonna get to it here because I know we're having a little bit of a lag. But basically, I wanted to do this book because I heard two people on the same day told me that this book was great. And so of course, what did I do? I went on the internet and I've tried to look at it on the most famous online retailer, right? And they were sold out. And then I got actually a list of booksellers, of black-owned booksellers from a friend of mine, and she said, check these out. And I called, and you know, half of them didn't pick up. And I called you, because I started out by me in Farmington Hills, and I got down to Detroit, and you picked up, and we had a conversation for about 25 minutes. And I was like, well, she is amazing. I want to come down here and meet you, and so I thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. This is great.
And I bought my copy, and this is actually my copy, and they ordered it for me. So I hope that we can all go ahead and support the local neighborhood bookstore here and order White Fragility. I'd like to discuss this probably first week of July, and I'm still looking for folks who are brave enough to come on and talk. We've got a few folks who want to come on and talk about it. I hear it's a very difficult book and a very deep book. Have you had a chance to read any
I
of
looked
it?
at some of them. We look at books carefully before we bring them in, and we had the book when it first came out, and then all of a sudden these things happened, and people have really taken off. So we're having to order quite a few as we go along, and we will hopefully have a stack in that will be able to provide people. I think it's a good opener for many people who may not have been able to approach this subject in another way, and I think it's gentle for people who are in that position. And then, as time goes on, there are many other books that will help get more deep and rich into the issues around whiteness. For example, Roddiger, David Roddiger, right? He's a white Mississippian who came along at the time when the 3 young men were killed in Mississippi during the Civil Rights. And he said that has permeated and affected his life and thinking ever since. So he writes very deeply about whiteness. He calls it the wages of whiteness. So when you get ready to kind of move forward, this is an entry point, but it's when you get ready to move forward, there are many other books. And then, of course, one of the big ones that's being looked at now is called How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibrahim X. Kendi. And he's really talking about the history of racial ideas. So that's a good one because it helps for people not to feel so hurt, I guess, about people calling them racist. And so he goes into the issue with his first book called Stamped from the Beginning. And that's his first one. And he says that these ideas have permeated our culture. When we talk about structural racism and all of that, they're ideas that have caused that. And they were systematically used, these ideas, systematically used throughout time. And when we begin to understand and unravel and unpack all of this, it'll be good. Then finally, Ibrahim did a book along with Jason Reynolds for the young reader, and it's just called Stamped. So it will help the young reader to have understanding about these racist ideas that have permeated our life and our culture and our society for so long, and the world really, because we have to go all the way back to the empire, time of empire, when the Dutch and the French and the Belgians and the Germans and the Portuguese and the Spanish really did a little conquering around the world.
Yeah, the colonialism, you know, and the race to conquer the world, right? By the
So this
European
is a
nations.
good entry point for many people, and I think it's gentle enough so that people aren't so easily turned off or hurt.
You know, I think that's a good point, right, about being gentle. And I think that one of the things that excites me about the time that we're in right now and the hope that I have right now and the time that we're in is it seems like the discourse is a less prescriptive and less demanding, and two sides seemingly shouting at one another with nothing really happening. And I've seen a little bit of a softening, I think, on the part of white people, where white folks are now listening more and saying, you know, I don't know that I fully understand, but I want to listen and I want to understand, I want to learn. And I think that's really the beginning to understanding, the beginning to familiarity, and the beginning to friendship and humanity and just oneness.
Well, I think that we have to know that events in our general life experience really caused some of this to happen. The George Floyd murder in Minnesota shook a lot of people up who maybe had not allowed themselves to look at some of the others so well. But that was right in our face. And it was in a state that kind of sees itself as being quite tolerant. And so now the underbelly of that has come out. And as you see, people are still in the streets. They are still saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? So it's caused our collective consciousness to look deeply at what do we mean by police? And then we go all the way back to the slave patrols. That's where they started. That's where policing started. That the slave patrols, their job was to go and catch runaway slaves. And so you've got this coming through. There's another book I would suggest to your book called My Grandmother's Hands. This is a book that's been written about by Resma Meckham. He's a trauma therapist from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And his book is called My Grandmother's Hands, and he talks about what this stuff is and how it resides in our bodies. And it's not just the bodies of African American people. It's everybody has experienced this stuff, and what's inside of our body gets told all the time, or it gets expressed all the time. So, my daughter wants to say a word.
Come on over, Allison.
Far.
Come on over. You can pop in even. I don't know if you can peek in.
She'll pop in over his shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah, you can hear. Yeah, bring it in, or whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, Robin DeAngelo and Rasma Metham have these nice YouTube talks that are available in workshops just to watch. So either reading his book or White Fragility, when they come together, it's really special.
Yeah, and he was the guest on the program called On Being with Krista Tibbett. It comes on, I think, about over a weekend. This one was the 5th of June, and then it went through Sunday. She's from Minneapolis too. And he and she were on together, and he actually did some exercises where you begin to learn to listen to your body when things happen, what's going on in there. So those kinds of books will be very helpful to people to really dig into who we are.
When you say listen to your body, are you talking about like visceral
A visceral
reactions?
response, right. For example, he talked about a man who'd had 4 wives and was coming for therapy. He said, "Well, nothing wrong with them. We got to work on you." Turns out that when he was watching and talking to the man, he would never look left. He always looked straight ahead or to the right. So he asked him to follow his hand, and he went to the front and to the side to the left. And when he went to the left, the man said, "What are you trying to do to me?" So over time, he found out that this man was nearly killed by a bus because he was walking across the street either with his phone or and the bus just grazed right by him, and he woke up in the hospital, but he was almost killed. And so this trauma was in his body, and he didn't even know it. He couldn't even talk about it. He woke up, he didn't remember anything. So he's saying that we have these experiences, maybe not that dramatic, but the impact of them reside in our body. I just learned not long ago, and I didn't really know it. In 1943, there was really a true race riot in Detroit. The one in 67 was a rebellion. But in 43, it was a race riot. And someone gave me a copy of a book that was done at that time, which I'm so grateful for. Because when I read it, I learned that the riot started on my birthday.
Wow.
In June. Now that may be in my body, I don't know it. I know that my father was impacted by it. I remember hearing about it because I was small. And I remember some of the talk, a little bit of talk about it, but that was a very fearful time. So it's probably in me, and I'm not always aware that maybe some of my responses and reactions to things may be coming from some of that knowledge. I wasn't in it. Nobody hurt me, so to speak, but I know I heard about it.
So lot to think about. Lot to think about. We got some folks watching us here. Janet, let's see. We got Mena checking in from Dubai. Hi, Mena. Hey, order the book. Let's make Middle East, Northern Africa another region that orders this book. Katie Linehan checking in. Looking forward to this open discussion. Thank you. You're welcome, Katie. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you. Sandra Clary made it. Looking forward to hearing today's conversation. Appreciate you all. If you haven't had a chance yet, hit that like button, hit that heart button, hit those applause buttons. Let Miss Janet Webster Jones know that you're out there watching. So far, you've given us about 5 books to read. She could sell some books. Can't this woman sell some books over here? We got a reading list.
I really love books. My mother was a children's librarian here in Detroit Public Library System. And growing up, we didn't have a lot of books at home because people didn't at that time, and people weren't just buying books. But the library was our place, and we went to the library every Saturday. We would get our stack of books for the week, and I would go home and sit on the porch and read books. Now that sounds weird because now people are running to games or running to this and going to the parties. But people didn't run around like they do today. And so I do love books. Books open up a world of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And that's what we need in this day and age, is our ability to have empathy. I'm so glad someone was calling in from Dubai. And we are really connected across this world by way of technology, by way of air travel, which is a little down right now, by way of writing. But it's not for the first time. People cross the seas and talk to each other through letters and went on pilgrimages and all of that. So we're constantly, as a species, a human species called human beings, we are constantly in motion. And I think the motion has been exaggerated now with people fleeing from countries, with the immigration, with people's curiosity. Oh, I just want to go there. Yep.
So you may not know this actually, Ms. Jones, but we actually, our show is a global mobility and relocation show. And so the way that we all come together, and it looks like, who is that? Audrey D'Angelo, hello from Luxembourg.
Hi. Oh my goodness.
Nice to see you. Thanks for checking in. Oh, my dad's checking in too. Let's see.
Hi, Dad.
We got Amanda, Dad from T-Town, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, checking in. Hey, Dad, love you. Who else we got up there? Who's Amanda? Can we see Amanda? Hello from Phoenix. Hey, Amanda. Thanks for checking in, everybody. Hit that like button there. And I know the video is not keeping up. I hope the audio is keeping up. But there's the contact information is at the bottom. And we're sitting here. We can actually hear the phone from here. So I would love it if somebody made me look important and actually called Allison right now. She's sitting there with nothing to do. She's just alphabetizing the books. If you call her and just order a copy of this, or maybe one of Miss Janet Webster Jones' 5 other recommendations on whiteness and race and how we can be better, that would be super awesome. But I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you about the importance. What do you think the role of the local independent bookstore is in the community?
Well, it's tremendous, and it's not just me. A professor at Harvard University, whose name is, I'm not going to remember it right now. I want to say Ryan. It's close to that. But anyway, he did a 3 to 5 year study on independent bookstores in the United States. His energy for that was to find out, what is it that has caused independent bookstores not to fail completely? Because,
great question, I think.
Yeah, and because we know that the rise of the ebook came along, and then of course our gorilla, who was around us all the time with the A name, did their thing. But yet independent bookstores have been not only growing, but they've been not only surviving, but they've been growing and soaring. And so he went around to find out, what is it that we do? What do we have in common? So he said that they're, overall, whether it's a large store, a little boutique store like ours, or medium size, or general interest, or anything, there are 3 things that we do: community, curating, and convening. Those are the big 3, and they all have to do with community. So when we talk about people like community organizers and local institutions and all of that, the library and the bookstores are in that frame of mind. Bookstores are also a place that will show that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy anything. It's not just transactional. It's a place for relationships. It's a place for discovery. It's a place for people to come and to be curious about things. And for us, we had been doing a lot of in-store events with gathering of people. But with the new pandemic and the use of technology, we're doing some virtual events as well. In fact, we have one Saturday night on the book called My Sister's Tattoo. And so we'll be doing that.
What's that? What?
Yes.
What's that?
Say it out.
My Sister's Tattoo by
Ellen Marapool.
And it's going to be on Facebook Live as well.
Okay.
So it'll be on Zoom to the people from Eventbrite that are going to do that, but then it'll be on Facebook Live.
And how can people tune into that are watching this that might want to watch that Facebook Live?
5 p.m. Saturday.
5 p.m. Saturday, and they should go to the Facebook page for Source Booksellers. So look up Source Booksellers on Facebook. Go ahead and follow it, like it, put in a little recommendation or review, and tell everybody how much you love Janet and Allison over here.
And we have the book over there somewhere.
And we got the book, and then they're going to talk about it. And I think that's kind of part of the niche that we found here on our show, Love and Relo, is that we've created a space for community. And all of a sudden we created this space about 6 months ago and started doing this show almost daily. And it's beautiful, the people that come out and they just check in and they're talking right now, and Sanders commenting on your comment, community, curating and convening. I love it, and it's a great descriptor of community bookstores with a heart. Yeah.
He's Professor Ryan Ratatouille, something like that, but he's a professor at Harvard University in the School of Business. So he was really motivated to find out, well, what are these bookstores doing? I mean, how is it that they're sticking around? Well, because we are community oriented, we are not I'm not trying to be a big box type bookstore with every title in the world. We are primarily a nonfiction bookstore. We have a few fiction titles from that are prize-winning authors, prize-winning books. But we're primarily a non-fiction bookstore, and we have 5 categories of books: history and culture, health and well-being, books that are by and about women, metaphysical, spiritual, new age, and the arts. We repeat that for our young readers. So the young readers, while there are lots of storybooks around, we also have a lot of non-fiction books. We have biographies for them. We have what's called the Baby University, like Blockchain for Babies.
What? Blockchain for babies?
Adults buy that book a lot.
Look at Miss Janet Webster Jones talking about blockchain for babies right now. Let me find out.
The ABCs of space.
Thank you, Miss Allen. I appreciate you. Look at this blockchain for babies. You want to have a smart baby that gets you some Bitcoin and you get to retire when you're 52? Get you some blockchain.
But all the elements are there, even though it's a
this is great.
Even though it's a board book, it's all the elements of the idea are there. So it's great.
Goodness, great. I don't know what I'm plugging. I thought I came here to plug White Fragility. Now I got blockchain for babies. I mean, and isn't that the magic of bookstores?
Yes.
Is the fact that you walk in here and you might be coming for a biography on Agatha Christie, and then you run into, oh, well, that looks neat, and oh, that looks neat, and it starts, and that's where the curating, I think, comes from as well, right? Because you curate the information and you bring it together, and it's okay, Allison. We're low budget. You can knock over my light if you need to. I'm over here. I took over this corner. It happens to be a very important corner of the bookstore.
She's good.
We got 15 people here.
But that's exactly what bookstores do. I remember being in Paris one time with my older daughter, and I can't even remember the area that we were in, but it was a kind of intimate little area. And up and down that street were individual bookstores, and they all had their own little niche. So this idea that there's going to be a big old store with every book in the world, that's really kind of passé now.
Yeah, and they've gone out of business. The Barnes and Nobles and the Borders and the whatever.
Much of a load, yeah. I didn't want anything big. I could stand a few more feet in here because we are kind of tiny. But by and large, no. And then the other stores can come along and do what they do. And I think what happens is that the human person is always curious. That's what we are. We're curious. We're also a language-bearing species. Now, we know that other animals have languages too, but we are a language-bearing species, and we need relationships. We need food, clothing, fuel, and shelter. Those are our bodily needs. But we also need relationships, and when you find that either with people and then with books, and then books and people together, a glass of wine and thou beside me in the wilderness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is special. I'm just having a great time right now.
Me too.
There's something magical about bookstores, and I think there's something magical about you too, Ms. Jones. Can we see some more of those comments too? I want to give some shout outs and read some of these comments because they're a little far away, so if you put them back up there for me. Thank you so much, Janet. Elena Anderson DeLay says, sending love and unity from Maryland.
Oh, Maryland.
Appreciate you, Elena. It's good to hear from you. Janet Turner says, can we post a list of book recommendations on the Love and Relo Facebook site? Yeah, I think we can. Maybe Janet, if you wouldn't mind, Janet Turner, maybe I'll ask Janet Webster Jones to give me the list of those books again. We can write them down if you wouldn't mind recording them for me.
Sure.
And then we'll go ahead and we will actually post those on our Facebook page, and we will link back to your Facebook page as well, so that people can kind of tune in and know where to buy them.
Now let me tell you, I want everybody to buy books from us, but I also want you to buy from your local independent bookstore. There are close to 4,000 independent bookstores in the United States of America that are members of the American Booksellers Association. That doesn't mean every bookstore is a member. So we have a lot of independent bookstores, and this is the time for us now to think locally, to buy locally as much as we can, and to support all local businesses that are in your area. Why? Because it builds community. And I used to think a long time ago, if I was very wealthy, I would move to New York City and live in the 90s. Now, if you haven't been in the 90s, especially the East Side, I think the East Side, it's very quiet. Everything is at your fingertips. The housing is very, very expensive. Of course, I'm not going there. But everything is right there before you. Someone said to me now, at one time not long ago, we should not worry. Everything we need is right here in Detroit. Just go get it. It's right here. So sometimes we get sort of taken away by things that are really flashy or they're new and all that. That's part of our DNA as well as human beings. But in the long run, it's our local spot, our local places that we want to.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what did my dad say here? Oh, by the way, if you have any if you have any questions for Janet Webster Jones or myself, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. Let's see what my dad says here. Just in the last 2 years, taking up reading fiction again. I read. Oh gosh, I can't read anything. I read mass quantities of nonfiction, but it kept my mind constantly in a problem-solving mode. Novels allow my mind and soul to rest like a classic concerto.
You know, let me just say something back to Dad about that.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not the same all the time in life. And just because we sell nonfiction books primarily, we have nothing at all against novels and fantasy and westerns and all that kind of thing. We have a book, oh gosh, I'm not calling the name of it, but it was about a western that was set in Australia. It was really kind of, and but I read that Toni Morrison said at one time that she thought that the novel was a place where we could get closer to the truth of human life. I said, really?
Thank you.
And she said the novel, because we're going deep into the novel form, which is a way of examining human thinking, feelings, experiences. That's what we find out in novels, that how does the human person respond to life? And so you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. And I don't ever want to make anybody think that we are in any way against books that we don't have here. It's just another type of genre and another way of knowing. Because the idea is to have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
We talk with Toni Morrison. That's some good stuff. Do you carry Toni Morrison?
We have really leaned on most of her nonfiction works, which are fabulous. There's another one that I would encourage you to read. It's called The Origin of Others. And she really works with this idea is how do we get to think about this thing called others? Because we're all the same species. We're all the same people. You know, but so she talks, it's a lecture I think that she did at Yale. It's called The Origin of Others, but we've also sold, when she passed away, we did a lot of business with her novels, Beloved, Sula, Song of Solomon, Bluest Eye, those were the big
Bluest
ones.
Eye,
Yeah, those were Bluest Eye was her first one that was published. And then she did publish the Black Book while she was an editor at Random House a long time ago. We keep thinking, oh, those big houses there. But Random House started trying to get more voices of independent voices into the book publishing thing. So she created what was called the Black Book to talk about a lot of black history in that book. So that was a nonfiction. That got republished by the publishing company at the time of her death. And then her one of her more recent ones, too, is In Search of Self-Regard. Learning to find out how we learn to regard ourselves. Oh, my goodness. That's a big job, isn't it? Trying to figure out, well, who are we? Are we really who we are? And are we all that we can be? So those are the big life questions that she was dealing with, maybe not in those very terms, but in that way.
How does one become all they can be?
By working at what is given to you every day. Because I think, for myself, and you know, I'm an old lady now, I guess you'd call me, every day I bring the basket of my life experiences to whoever shows up at the door. That's who I am. And who I am begins to change and shift according to Octavia Butler, our great science fiction writer, that says everything you change changes you. Everything you touch, you change. Everything you change changes you. So we are constantly in motion as humans to not only discover ourselves, but to be animated by others. We have a book, I think it's in the store now, it's called The Alchemy of Us, written by a young woman who is a material engineer. I said, what? What's a material engineer? Well, these are people that work with the actual materials of the world. And she wrote a book talking about how we invent things, and then those things that we invent change us. For example, the car.
Sure, sure.
Before we did the car, we were riding on horses and walking, I don't know what else. But the car changed, it also changed our bodies because we were not exercising ourselves. If we look at people that we call third world countries, which I hate that title, you see people who are very thin. Well, they spend most of their mobility walking.
So you're saying I should blame my car?
You can. It's all right. Blame it.
I appreciate you. She gives me so many outs, and she's smart and gives me so many outs. I appreciate you so much.
This is fun. I'm having a good time.
Well, you could. I mean, you are so knowledgeable, and I can't help but thinking it comes from a life surrounded by books.
Well,
I mean, how has that changed you? Just living amongst books.
Well, first of all, with all of us, we are experiencing the life that comes to us every day, day by day. And then I was an educator with Detroit Public Schools for 41 and a half years before really letting this store bloom. So I haven't always been
And what did
here.
you teach?
Well, I first started elementary school and I taught the little small children. And then I was a speech pathologist. And then I was a teacher consultant. And then I was an administrator. And then I was a professional developer. I tell you, I get the itch about every 7 to 10 years.
Okay, all right.
So all of that time, there was a lot of books going on, but all of that time, I was, interacting with people, doing different kinds of things, doing what educators do. And then along the way, I, got going with this business, and it's grown and developed over time. So nobody is as they were when they first reached the planet. We're all evolving as we go along, and hopefully for the better.
Now, do you get business from this college down the street, Wayne State University is here?
We have some relationships with them, but we are not the official bookstore.
Right.
The official bookstore is actually a Barnes & Noble store that's on the corner of Cass and Canfield. No, that's not right, that's us, Cass and Warren. And so we do have some students coming in. We have a few professors that we who are our customers, and periodically we're able to do some special programming with one of the professors who actually teaches Latin and we've done some work with her and her students, and we have a nice relationship with the Semester in Detroit program, which is through the University of Michigan.
Okay.
And these are students from the University of Michigan who come to spend a semester in Detroit, take their classes, not at Wayne, but through their professors here. And then they are assigned to a nonprofit to be an intern for a semester. So they learn about the city in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And then we always have a session with them here. And then when I can, I attend their ending session. And they live up the street here, so that's really good. And then we've had some work with some of the other schools around. So we really are an independent bookstore who, we use our energies in whatever direction we're called upon to do, and then we reach for things that we also want to do.
Sure. I want to go ahead and plug one more time here. White Fragility is the book that we are going to be studying this month. So I encourage you all to order this book. You can order it from your local independent bookstore. You can also call Ms. Janet Webster Jones and her daughter Allison here, who are standing by currently waiting for your phone call and your credit card number. They would never be so crass, but I would. So give them a ring, give them a buzz, and buy the book. I know a few of you have. Shout out to Michelle, shout out to Hosea, shout out to people who've called, and here's Hosea checking in. Actually, let's see what Hosea has to say here. Hosea is checking in on LinkedIn. And he says, hello, Ben and Miss Jones. Wow, so much knowledge. Yeah, I mean, it's true, though. If you want knowledge, come to a bookstore, right? No better way to find it. And I loved your comment before, too, about the fact that, you can come here, and it's free to walk in. And it's free to get inspired, And
I have to say that we're a little junky right now, because when the doors shuttered after the stay-at-home directive came down, we quickly pivoted to online sales. So the middle of the store is our receiving, shipping, fulfillment, and delivering operation. So we have two folding tables, and that's what we're doing here. And then we're getting ready to try to put this in another place in our back room. and then reposition the store. So, because I like beauty, I think beauty will save us, according to Dostoevsky in one of his books, that I like things to be lovely and to be good on the eyes.
Now you bring up beauty, but one of my favorite Toni Morrison quotes. You see where I'm going with this from The Bluest Eye was, and I'm gonna butcher this, but I believe she said something to the effect of, beauty is the most dangerous construct known to man, you know, because of what it's done by basically making people who are beautiful and not beautiful, and then what it's done, cold is a
And also, we are so attracted to things that are symmetrical to our eyes. It doesn't mean there's not beauty in asymmetrical, but when things fit, when colors can, all you have to do is step out into the world, in the world of nature. And if you look at the green and the many shades of green during the springtime, they are absolutely exquisite. Out at Belle Isle, at our local island park, there are a lot of willow trees, and they are just beautiful in the spring. They're delicate, they're light, they haven't gotten with the heaviness of later in the summer. The water that we're surrounded by in Michigan is just extraordinary. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's gray, sometimes it looks a little green, and we know that's all a reflection of what's going on above. I had a friend who was from New York, lived here for a while, and she said, "Ooh, Janet, the skies are so beautiful here." Well, it's because of the water. So, and when you put against the water and the green of the grass, the lovely colors of tree trunks, the animals that run around, because we really live in a forest, the birds that fly around. This is a great flyway for birds between the Atlantic and the Mississippi. This whole region is full of birds. I saw a flock going across the other day, you know, with the human beings inside. The animals have been able to have a little time. You know?
Yeah, the animals get the world back here for a few months, huh?
So, so we respond to beauty, and we respond to symmetry. And then beauty is not only in the eye of the beholder, but it's also built into our nature to want to see beauty. Some of the cave drawings in France and Europe of the ancient people there, they're all beautifully in order. And so these are people, we don't even know who they are, but they were in those caves. Yep.
Oh, this is great. This has been so much fun. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting me in to your store. I know that you're being very careful with who you have in here. I have a question here from Janet, our producer, Janet Turner. How long do book orders typically take?
Well,
especially, let's talk about this book, right?
Yeah.
This is in high demand. This is probably the number one seller right now in the country. I think.
Tell you that this one, Allison, you want to talk a little bit about that, because she's been managing the online sales. So when our new shipment comes in, we have to satisfy all of those. And then right away, because of this program, we're going to have to put in another order for another group. So we have shipped in another book that we've had here by 50 Cent. You know who that is?
Curtis Jackson.
Curtis Jackson, that's
Fitty.
right. Fitty.
AKA Ferrari. Fitty.
Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter book. So he identified.
Same day. I mean,
Yeah.
when they come in,
When we come in, they got it the same day. Now, we can't tell you what the delivery will be, because we know that the delivery organizations have had to work with sometimes without the help that they need. Everybody's been affected by the pandemic. So we try to be as fast as we can be without tripping ourselves up. But most of the times we get them out of the store the day that we handle them.
And
now,
we follow them to delivery.
yes.
So like all of our May orders have been delivered. We know that for sure, up to the home.
Yeah, because Allison can track that on our program on the computer. So we do the best we can to get them out. We've had a few stumbles, but those all help us to learn and
Sure.
what we need to do to fix it.
Well, I think I called you on, maybe it was Thursday or Friday of last week, and you know, here it is Wednesday, and you got the book here. So at that point, you had sold out all your present copies. So you know, a few days, and then they'll ship, and a few more days in the mail. So figure a week probably. So if you call right now, as we're sitting here, if you call in here and order a book, you should probably get it in a week. I would say.
I want to say to the audience is that we have, you know, all of us are living in a pretty fast and furious world now, but I like to encourage our customers to take it easy, to slow down, to read just a little bit a day. Let that digest and resonate within you. and then go back and read some more. Because we're all busy, we all have other things that we can do. And so just take your time with it. The books will be here, hopefully, barring any flood and pestilence and fire and storm. But they'll be here, and the libraries will be here. So take your time, read a little bit, think about it, let it resonate with you, and then read on. And it was the nonfiction books. You don't have to start at the beginning and go to the end. You can start in the middle. You can start wherever you want to start. Now, it's good to go because it's been put in order in a certain way by the author and the editors as to how it should go. But you're not going to get a test at the end, so enjoy the journey.
Yeah, take your time and enjoy the journey. I think that's a wonderful sentiment to leave us with. And I see you, Jamie Master, checking in from sunny Mississippi.
Hi.
How you doing, buddy? But yeah, this has been so wonderful to come in here and spend the afternoon with you and your daughter, and I'm very excited about this book, so I'm happy to get to take this home and unpack it. I think it's going to be a emotional read. Our conversation last week with Hosea and Andrew was emotional, and we're going to have a conversation similar to this once a week for the rest for the next 4 weeks, where we talk about race, about diversity, about inclusion, about kind of unpacking some of these issues and some of our blind spots, and just kind of starting dialogues, and this being kind of a safe space to be uncomfortable and vulnerable.
And it's a good time to practice the high skill of listening too, because there are people who are not going to agree with you about what you've learned in here. So just listen to them and see what they have to say.
I love it. Listen and read. Take it easy. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody. I appreciate you checking in. Thanks for being with us today. All the people that checked in with the chat. Thanks to all the people that are ordering the book. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Janet Webster Jones and her daughter Allison Turner over there, who you've heard the voice of Allison.
It's a ghost voice.
There you go.
Come over here and get in the picture, Allison.
You want to say hi real quick, Allison?
Come behind.
All right, come here, Allison. Pop in over here. Hey, there she is. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
We're
Let
here.
your nose
Thank
show.
you so much for
Thank you.
listening.
When you see our little
Happy
notes.
reading.
And we will also go ahead and leave that. We need that list, didn't we? We need that
Yeah.
list of books.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take these down. We'll say it slow here because I see Janet Turner furiously. I'm always throwing a curveball at Janet back there, so she's
I'll
gonna.
try to remember them, Janet. I talked about my grandmother's hands by Rasma Meckham. The anti-racist, how to be an anti-racist by Ibrahim X. Kendi. Stamped from the beginning, same author, and then Stamped, which is the younger readers with Reynolds, Jason Reynolds, and Ibrahim Kendi. And then we swung over to something else. What did we talk about?
There was the one about the guy that was the Mississippian.
Yes, this is The Wages of Whiteness
Wages of
by
Whiteness.
David Rodiger, yes. It's an older book. It's maybe, a few years old. But it's called The Wages of Whiteness, and he really comes from a space of real understanding and his life experience. Talk about putting himself out there. He certainly has. And then, I don't know if I mentioned Brian Stevenson, who wrote Just Mercy.
Just Mercy, that's the one Janet Turner was asking about.
Yeah,
that was made into a film,
that's
wasn't
right,
it?
made into a film. And he started a museum down in Montgomery, Alabama, to honor the people who had been lynched. And that's I haven't been there yet because I haven't been traveling, but it's a pretty intense experience to really let yourself see and hear it. Also, we talked about Toni Morrison's books, The Source of Self-Regard, The Origin of Others,
The Black Book.
The Black Book, and of course all of her many novels, starting with The Bluest Eye, Sula, Song of Solomon, and the later ones, Paradise, Beloved, I can't name, Home is another one. But she was so prolific and she gave so much. if we ever learn all of Toni Morrison, we'll probably be 372 years old by that time. Yeah, so enjoy the reading, and there's so many more, especially for those people who are in many other places. Dig into your historical societies that are nearby. Find your own histories of the places. I just heard a fabulous program on the history of slavery in Canada, which is shocking to everybody because we always want to think that Canada has it all. But there were 200 years in which they bought and sold both native and African slaves. So there's just a lot to know, and it's not that anybody is being punished or tried to point a finger at, because all of us are human and we've all made big mistakes, and we had excess power. We really made a lot of mistakes. So those people, so we have to be careful of the power part. We can kind of share it out a little bit together.
I think that's such an important thing to remember too, and I think there's so much forgiveness that needs to be asked for and needs to be given too, and I think that's part of it as well, is understanding that we're all human and we all make mistakes.
So there's another book at this time. It's called I think about Colin Kaepernick. Is that right?
Full Dissonance.
Full Dissonance, right.
She loves
This
her
is,
book.
his name is Howard. His name is Howard. But he writes about
Oh, we got another one here.
sports and young people and how,
Let's see if this stack can-
yeah,
let's
Full
see.
Dissonance, yes.
Full Dissonance.
Yeah, it's a strong book, and it's not easy reading. You can read it, but it's not really easy.
Oh, Howard Bryant. He
Howard
is
Bryant.
a sports reporter, isn't he?
Sports reporter and
I know
critic.
him.
And
Yes.
critic, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Full
So
Dissonance.
I'm telling you, there's so much.
Notes from an Uneven Playing
Yeah.
Field. Drew
Yeah.
Phillips checking in, says, "Wow, Ben, just wow. Hello, Miss Jones. What an honor. Great books." Lynn Greenberg, "Hi, Ben and Janet from New York. Looking forward to
New
this."
York.
Oh yeah, we're
Yes,
all over.
I love it.
California, New York, Maryland. Gosh, DC. You got Michigan.
Yes.
So
lots of little bookstores in New York, big ones and little ones, but independent.
please, if you're watching this or you just tuned in or you're just joining the program, make sure to please call the numbers at the bottom of the screen. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. I say us, like I'm going to be here picking up the phone. Miss Janet's going to be picking up the phone, or her daughter Alice is
Yeah.
going to pick up the phone.
I mostly pick it up and she's on the computer.
There you go. And that's what I did last, I want to say it was Thursday or Friday. I got my copy of White Fragility. Please order it. We will be reading this month on Love and Relo. We will be doing a book club. We will be talking about it. I don't know if we're going to be able to get the author, Robin DiAngelo. She's pretty big deal right now. But
Maybe on a
we do have
virtual.
Janet Webster Jones with us to help tee it up. So thank you again, everybody. This has been wonderful.
Thank you
You've
very
been so
much.
gracious
Thank you
with your
very
time.
much. It was fun.
Oh, this is great.
Good.
I'm in such a good headspace right now. This is so wonderful. All right, well, I'll see y'all later, and take care. Oh, there's Gary Connerly checking in. Put Ben to work. He said, put Ben to work. Answer the phones. Oh, goodness, Gary. All right, take care, everybody. I will see y'all later, and I love y'all. And tomorrow we got a great show with John Zilka, so
Great.
tune in then.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.